you guys ever grow up with some popular fad that just took over your school when you were a kid? You might think of some of the awesome stuff like Pokemon, Tamagotchis, or Pogs, if anyone remembers those. These fads would usually come and go. There'd be a fad, and then a new one would pop up, and then you completely forget about the last one. Yeah, that stuff happens like all the time. And, I could care less about this stuff, but some of the fads that I grew up with were just ridiculous. Snap bracelets, Fooey eraser heads, Mighty Beans. Guys, do you remember Mighty Beans? Remember when Mighty Beans were on the scene? But let me tell you that nothing beats probably one of the worst fads that I grew up with and I was a part of. And that's silly bands. Now, what are silly bands? Let me explain. Silly bands are basically just rubber bands with a whole bunch of colors shaped like animals, objects, people, etc. And I never understood this crap. It's a rubber band shaped like a cat or a pencil that you can't even admire to look at. The purpose of rubber bands are to wrap things up or organize your stuff or shoot kids in the front of the classroom for, sitting in the front. Yeah, that's what you get. They were popular around the late 2000s, and kids had these things wrapped around their wrists like some sort of cult. They even got tie-ins with such franchises like SpongeBob, The Simpsons, Hannah Montana, and even fucking Shrek. Yeah, Shrek. But they're just rubber bands. Some of the stuff you can't even understand without context. Like, if you look at half of the rubber bands that were sold, you're like, what the fuck is this shit supposed to be? What the hell? And it was crazy because people would fight for the coolest ones, like the guitar or the seahorse or, oh God, do you guys remember the Phoenix? Oh my God, that was like the rarest silly band of all time. And people wanted it. They would go fucking mad if you had one. And you know what? At the end of the day, it didn't even fucking matter. You want to know why? Because they're just rubber bands and no one gives a shit. Kids would show them off anyways. Like they tried to put as many on their wrist as possible until their fucking arm went numb. And I remember this one girl who was so fucking joyful of her collection that she had to show it off by hooking them all on at once on her backpack, so it just looked like a big rainbowy mess on her fucking backpack. And you know what? It didn't take long until those things were freaking stolen. I mean, that's just a criminal's paradise when you're fucking in the 4th grade. And I'm ashamed to say this, but I had a silly band at one point. Well, actually, I found it off the floor, and it wasn't mine. I just happened to find it, and I borrowed it. But it was kind of cool. You can stretch it, and that's pretty much it. I mean, the rubber band, what the fuck do you expect? I had it for a while. It was fun. You'd show it off to your friends like, oh, I finally got a silly band. Am I cool yet? Am I cool yet? No one gives a shit. Oh, and if you're wondering what silly band I had the Penguin. All right. And his name was Alfredo. And you know what? I think about him sometimes. Alfredo the rubber band. I mean, I lost him a week later, but I could really care less because the novelty wore out so fast that I really didn't mind losing it. And you know what? The fad died a week later, so you know what? All wasn't lost here. It just really makes me mad when I think of silly bands because it was just so stupid. Some of these other fads that came out, at least there was some substance to them. There was stories behind them. There was just a bunch of merchandise. But silly bands had nothing going for it. They're just rubber bands. So whoever marketed that, congratulations. You managed to sell one of the worst fucking fads of the generation. There you go. This is my ode to silly bands. Fuck you. This is the end. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys whenever. Don't buy silly bands if you see them, because they're just crap. And if you find one on the floor, don't even pick it up, even if it is the Penguin. Alright? See you guys.